One random video upload shouldn't have rocked the entire internet like this, yet somehow it did. No caption explaining anything. No comments disabled. No obvious shade tossed. Just one perfectly timed clip, and suddenly everyone's asking that same crazy question again for reasons nobody understands. So, what's really going on between Remy Ma, Papoose, and Claressa Shields? This isn't just messy relationship drama. It's all about timing, and timing screams louder than words online. Folks keep insisting the clip was random, just old footage, meaningless, pretending it meant nothing. But let's be serious, that's just not how social media works anymore. When something drops right as rumors are hitting a boiling point, nobody's buying coincidence. People see pure intention. And the second intention gets suspected, folks start replaying every second, side-eyeing every move, and reading between every single line. This entire situation had been messy for a while, but it really blew up once it stopped staying behind closed doors. Suddenly, everything spilled online. Private messages, accusations, and non-stop clapbacks flying everywhere. Every post, every reaction, every word turned into fuel for the chaos. And now the whole internet is watching it like a reality show completely off the rails. That's when the story stopped being about two people trying to sort things out and became something way bigger than anyone ever expected. Once the internet feels invited in, it never just watches. It digs deep, connects dots, and builds full timelines. That's exactly why nothing's been taken at face value since then. Every post feels questionable. Every public appearance feels like a chess move. Even the quiet moments feel planned down to the second. Nothing feels random anymore. Every silence looks intentional. Every word feels loaded. And the reason this whole triangle refuses to disappear is simple. There was never real closure. When reports surfaced about divorce papers being filed, people thought that was the final act. But nah, that was just another chapter. Filing doesn't mean it's over. It just leaves the door cracked open. And the internet loves camping in that space, stuffing it with theories and wild speculation. Now fans are clocking every tiny detail. Who's in New York? Who's missing? Who's posting after midnight? And who suddenly goes silent? Every move turns into part of the storyline whether anyone agrees or not. And that non-stop spotlight hits everyone differently. For Claressa Shields, though, it's been especially brutal because she's not just being watched as someone caught in relationship mess. She's being judged as a woman with a reputation and a name to protect. She's not only being judged as someone wrapped in drama. She's being judged as an athlete, a public figure, and someone whose entire legacy now has to battle gossip headlines every time she speaks. People aren't just hearing her words anymore. They're zooming in, hunting for cracks, searching for any sign of weakness. And when she hops online to defend herself, clap back at lies, draw boundaries, or laugh it off, the internet flips it. What should sound like strength suddenly becomes she's trying too hard. And that's the brutal game of social media. Online, the moment you start explaining yourself, people act like you already lost. It doesn't matter if you're right or completely justified. They read it as desperation instead of protection. That's why Claressa's rants landed so differently. They sounded strong and confident, but underneath you could feel that tension, that pressure, that feeling she was reacting to something bigger than herself. And viewers sense that instantly. They may not say it out loud, but they feel it. Because let's be honest, if everything was truly solid, would it need this much defending? That's the question floating around. Then came the moment that sent everything spiraling again. The call-in incident where Claressa allegedly tried sneaking onto a show under a fake name, only to get caught anyway. Whether people saw it as embarrassing or just unfair, it fed straight back into the same messy storyline the internet refuses to drop. She didn't need that kind of heat. Claressa got pulled too deep into the noise, too focused on controlling her image instead of letting the storm blow over. And once that perception sticks, it's almost impossible to shake. From that moment on, every post she made looked like damage control. Every laugh emoji felt forced, and every confident caption got twisted into proof she was bothered. The internet's ruthless like that. It doesn't care about context or emotion. Once it locks you into a role, that's who you are to them, no matter what you do. Jesus Johnson returns to pick. And then there's Remy. Oh, Remy plays this game in a completely different way. She doesn't hop online arguing back and forth. She doesn't write long essays defending herself. And she definitely doesn't flood everyone's timeline trying to prove anything. Nah, she moves quietly and lets timing speak for her. That's her real weapon. And that's exactly why one short clip from her can shake the room harder than a 1,000-word post ever could. The video itself wasn't outrageous. No tears, no threats, no accusations. Just Remy casually talking about her husband, joking about beauty and attitude, sounding calm and grounded. But the timing, that's what hit differently. The energy wasn't about the past. It felt current. People didn't hear nostalgia in her voice. They heard something that sounded like a woman who still feels chosen, still secure. And that quiet confidence spoke louder than any caption ever could. And that right there is what the internet latched onto. Not exactly what Remy said, but how she said it. The calm delivery, the steady confidence, the total lack of urgency, it all screamed control. That type of energy doesn't sound like someone chasing validation. It sounds like someone who knows exactly where she stands and doesn't need to explain it. That's why people started calling her clip a message, not because she dropped names, but because she didn't have to. The reminder was subtle, but sharp. It hit, emotionally, and it landed heavy. Meanwhile, Claressa's clips started getting lined up side by side with Remy's, turning into full-blown internet comparisons. The gym footage, the background noise, the offhand food comments, tiny things that should have meant nothing suddenly became evidence. Not because they proved anything real, but because the internet lives off contrast. One woman comes across calm and collected, while the other looks tense and defensive. One posts once and disappears while the other keeps responding, explaining, and reacting. And whether that comparison is fair doesn't even matter anymore. Perception has already taken control of the storyline, and the audience is treating it like fact. And right in the middle of this chaos sits Papoose, quiet, unreadable, saying almost nothing.
That's it. You got this. Come on! Go!
That silence only makes things messier because now everyone's filling in the gaps, projecting their own version of him into the storyline. To some, Papoose looks conflicted, stuck right in the middle of everything. To others, he's playing both sides like a seasoned pro. And then there are people who swear he never actually left at all. That silence of his is his strongest move. It keeps people guessing, keeps the narrative alive, keeps the drama breathing. Because as long as nobody hands the internet a clean ending, the saga never really dies. Every tiny action, every post, even a look, suddenly it all feels like a clue. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The loudest person in situations like this rarely wins. The real power belongs to the one who can shift the entire vibe without raising their voice. And right now, Remy doesn't look like she's fighting for anything. She looks like she's reminding everyone exactly who she is. She's proving that history still carries weight. And that kind of history doesn't fade easily. A shared past, a child, years of loyalty lived out in public. You can't erase that with paperwork. You can't wipe it away with gym clips or captions pretending to be unbothered. That kind of bond lingers. It leaves an echo, and the internet feels it deeply, even if it can't prove it. But let's be clear, that doesn't automatically mean a reunion is happening. It just means the story isn't finished yet. It doesn't mean anything is official, but it does mean that door between them never really closed. And as long as that door stays cracked open, anyone standing outside is going to feel the tension. That's why people keep saying this situation was never built to last. Not because the love wasn't real, but because the exposure was overwhelming. Once social media becomes the third person in a relationship, it stops being about connection and turns into a power struggle over control. Right now, Claressa looks like she's fighting to protect her image. while Remy's letting her image protect her, and that difference in posture says everything. One is trying to manage the storm. The other is letting the storm make her look stronger. And the internet eats that up every single time. So, what's really happening here? Maybe there's a quiet reconnection going on behind closed doors. Nobody's confirming. Nobody's denying. Or maybe it's just complicated co-parenting that the internet keeps twisting into something deeper. Or maybe, just maybe, this entire triangle is collapsing under its own spotlight and nobody wants to be the first to admit it's over. But one thing is crystal clear. The person who looks the least bothered is the one controlling the narrative. And the one fighting the hardest to explain themselves is the one getting dragged deeper into the drama step by step, post by post. And until there's real closure, not rumors, not paperwork, not perfectly timed clips, this cycle isn't slowing down anytime soon. The internet lives for unfinished business. And this story still feels wide open. Every week there's a new clue, a new post, a new theory, and people just refuse to let it go. The silence surrounding it keeps everyone locked in because without real answers, folks fill the gaps with their own version of the truth. And that's where the chaos multiplies. People are still watching like detectives, zooming into screenshots, comparing captions, reading emotions into emojis. Every detail gets stretched into meaning. Every quiet moment gets turned into a headline. This isn't just gossip anymore. It's entertainment. It's speculation. It's a never-ending loop feeding itself. Fans have officially become part of the storyline, deciding who's right, who's fake, and who's still holding on. In situations like this, silence hits louder than any post ever could. Silence isn't weakness. It's strategy. When everyone else is talking, posting, and reacting, the quiet ones control the mystery. They choose when and how the next move lands. And that level of control is power all on its own. The less they say, the more people speak for them. And that's the real game being played right now. And that's the real twist. Because while everyone's busy debating who's hurting, who's healing, and who's plotting, the one holding the silence is the one holding the leverage. That calm, that quiet space, it's doing more damage and pulling more attention than any rant, any clapback, or any exclusive ever could. The silence is the message, and the internet can't stop listening to it. At this point, it's not even about who's right or wrong anymore. It's about who can outlast the noise. The story of Remy Ma, Papoose, and Clarissa Shields has turned into a social media saga that refuses to die. Every silence, every glance, every word or lack of one gets treated like breaking news. People aren't waiting on facts anymore. They're waiting on moments. The truth is, when emotions, fame, and pride collide, nobody walks away untouched. This isn't just about love or betrayal. It's about image, power, and control. Everyone in this triangle is playing a different game, using different tools just to survive it. Clarissa is fighting to be understood, while Remy's letting silence build her mystique, and Papoose stays frozen in the middle, carrying the weight of both sides without saying a word. And that quiet position keeps him unpredictable, which is exactly what keeps the story spinning. But let's be honest, the internet doesn't want closure. It wants continuation. The messier things get, the more people tune in. Every rumor, every clip, every cryptic post just adds another spark to a fire nobody's trying to put out. It's not even about the truth anymore. It's about perception. And perception is what writes the headlines now. Still, deep down, everyone's waiting for that one real moment of honesty, for someone to finally step up and say what's really happening. Until then, we'll keep watching, speculating, and scrolling through clues that may never lead anywhere. Because when the truth hides behind silence, imagination takes over. And that's what keeps the story alive. If you've been riding this roller coaster from the beginning, drop your thoughts below. Do you think it's over or just getting started? Hit that like, subscribe, and share button so you don't miss the next twist. Because trust me, this story is far from